Okay, let's talk about mimicry. Mimicry is any sort of practice where one species copies the appearance or behavior of another species that shares its habitat. So a really popular one that a lot of people learn when they're young is king snakes and coral snakes. So one is venomous, the other is not, but they have a fairly similar pattern and they live in overlapping habitats. The harmless snake mimics the venomous snake basically as a signal to say, stay away from me. There's two kinds of mimicry. There's Batesian mimicry, and then there's Muellerian mimicry. The king snake coral snake example is a type of Batesian mimicry. That is where one species copies the appearance or the behavior or whatever of a harmful species. There are many species of insect, for example, that look like bees or hornets or wasps, and it's just their way of getting other animals to leave them alone. But Muellerian mimicry is really fascinating, and I did a little bit of a deep dive with that today. In Batesian mimicry, one creature is copying another, and that only benefits the creature that's doing the mimicking. The creature whose behavior, appearance, or whatever is being copied really is unaffected by this. But in Muellerian mimicry, both species are benefited, and there's actually a mathematical model that describes it. So how can one species be benefited by another species copying it? In the specific case of Muellerian mimicry, it's done, especially with butterflies, that's what it was first observed in, by animals that are trying to copy foul-tasting animals. So we see a large number of butterflies on here. Now it looks like there are duplicates, some of them are almost perfect copies, but in fact, the butterflies that look like copies of each other are two completely different species. Here we can see the monarch butterfly and the butterfly that mimics it. Now here's what's going on. In the case of the monarch butterfly tastes really awful, but the other butterfly does not. So it wants to look like a monarch because, well, they don't want to be eaten. It's the same case with all these other butterflies. These are Amazonian rainforest butterflies of multiple different species. Now, how can that benefit the butterfly who is being copied? Well, here's the deal. They look like that as a warning signal to predators to say, don't eat me, I'm gross. Now, from the predator's perspective, if the environment was filled with butterflies that look just like this, half of them taste bad, half of them taste good, well, then the predator might as well go for it. It's completely random chance. It's heads or tails. I'll either get a gross one or a good one. So, as I said, might as well go for it, right? But it's not as simple as that. Now, it's true that the mimics don't taste bad, but the pattern is so important here. What the mimics do is they reinforce the behavior of the predators. If you're a predator and you had eaten one of the foul-tasting butterflies that looks just like the mimic, and then you remembered that pattern, and then you saw a mimic, you would be reinforced to not go after it. And as you increase reinforcement, you change behavior. This is a natural psychology experiment, which is just so cool. The true foul-tasting butterflies are benefited from this because what the mimics do is they create more signaling opportunities, more reinforcement out there with the predators. As long as the true butterflies always taste gross, and they basically do, and as long as the pattern is copied well, which it really is, then that is just extra advertising. It's more signals to the predators to say, avoid butterflies that look like this. So both species are benefited, even though one species is sort of stealing intellectual property rights from the other.